All right, so I took RDA once again, and I've yet to test the needle ceilings because if you've been keeping up with the trap version of this build, I've been testing out some of the traps that are good going second, and needle ceiling is one of those traps that was suggested by Nick, and he's like, "Oh, what about needle ceiling?" I was like, "Oh, completely overlooked it because it's similar to how torrential functions." Because one of the things with the trap variant is you need to have traps that can be used at almost any given time, right? In draw phase, stamina phase, main phase, battle phase, main phase 2. And needling kind of covers all of that. It's a bit specific in the sense that you require 4 monsters to be face up on the field. And it doesn't seem too much of an issue, especially if you go second, because they're going to have an established board. You can set a monster to contribute to that 4 monster threshold, right? And then you can keep your monster and you destroy everything else. And you just need that to ensure you live. Because one of the issues with Torrential Tribute in this build is they can just go battle phase, assuming they already have game on board, and they go battle phase and just attack you. But that's where Daruma and IDP comes into play, right? Because they can go battle phase thinking they have lethal, and then you activate Daruma, and you just flip everything face down, and you live. And then when they flip, then you Torrential them, right? And that's how you typically break a board. And if you have your Floodgates, that's even better for you, because then you can just sequence them in a way where you can negate any Omni Negate, or just prevent them from establishing anything further, because access code is a real thing and you can't respond to that guy when it's summoned. So that's a bit odd for Torrential Tribute, whereas Needle Ceiling can just be used at any given time, right? So I was missing that card. It was in the mail. It's literally in the city, but I didn't get it in time, so I didn't get to test it. But nonetheless, I took a very similar build from the last time. I wasn't able to attend locals for the past few weeks, and this weekend I was able to, so I ended up taking this. I was gonna take the Synchron build, the one with the toy box engine, but I was missing a few cards and I forgot some of the cards at home, and I was like, oh my god, are you serious? So I couldn't play that deck, so I just ended up taking this because it was already built from the previous locals. I was already set because previously I was meant to go to locals. It was already in the deck box. I hadn't touched it. I just left it as is, and I was like, okay, this is already built, so let's just play this. But anyways, let's get back into it. So you have, of course, the best starter of the deck. Of course, you have your Triple Soul. This card is the weak point of the deck. If this gets stopped, it's pretty devastating, right? But that's what you're trapped for, to ensure that if this gets stopped, then you can stop them and then attempt the following turn with your consistency. And of course, you have your double Resonator, right? I am contemplating playing 3 because you do enter the grind game a lot with this deck. And majority of the time, you either lose your Crimson Gaia by your opponent, or you send it off bone because you don't want to send anything else, right? You need to be able to send one off bone, assuming you went through both already, because the first one, usually you discard for bone to summon bone, and then you search Gaia that way, and then you summon the second one off of Crimson. And when you get into the grind game, you lose your Gaia, so you have Bone Engrave, so you're like, oh, I can just send a third one. Wait, I don't play a third one. And that's how you reestablish your Crimson Gaia. So that's the only instance where I wish I played a third, but right now, 2's fine. And of course, you have your Crimson, and of course, you have your Synchron Resonator. You don't need to play more than this. One is, for this variant, 1 is enough. You don't even necessarily always go into this line. Sometimes you just go on Scarred, set 4 pass, and that plays on the Nibiru, and then you just snowball, gradually just take control of the game with your traps, and it's just overwhelming. So this is fine, because this is the choke point. You want to maximize on your non-tuners, right? So you want to get, of course, you play Triple Bone, and you play the new one, Triple Red Lotus King Flame Crime, because you want to be able to go summon, effect, then negate that, it's fine. Pitch, special, you're fine. Or summon this, you're fine, and you still establish your hot red with the red rain and more traps, right? And these are the extenders that require this to not be as devastating when it gets negated. But this, for tempo control, is insane, because just being able to constantly loop the red rain, once you've set it up already, it's so good. It's very minimalistic, but that's kind of the point. It's consistent, right? Because you always get a chance to play. You always have your traps to back you up. You can control tempo that way, and then gradually take control of the game. You play Yu-Gi-Oh! That's what I like about this variant. You get to play, whether you go first, whether you go second, it's just so good. And then, of course, you have your Overloop. This card's insane. You just have to play it. It has so much synergy with your red zone. It's so good. And of course you have, oh, this is the last card this deck has. Oh, this is amazing. This is an amazing card. You have your triple Crimson Gaia and you have your triple Resonator Call. This is how you have the consistency required for the deck to function the way it does, because it stays there and you have guaranteed follow-up. So let's say they stopped you, you can set your trap, stop them, and you have guaranteed follow-up, so you don't have to rely on a top deck. And because it's a one card, right? Because before this we didn't really have a one card, because the only one card you had was with this. But the fact that we have this now, it makes this deck even more consistent, because you have this one card, and this one card, which is amazing. This is not as explosive, but nonetheless, it's still a very formidable setup, right? It's off one card, your Hot Red and Red Rain. That's insane. They make your guy immune, it's unaffected by anything. And then on top of that, you have non-engine to back it up. It's just so good. But the attrition that this provides is amazing. Just constantly be able to revive your RDAs, book things and attack with your OG RDA, destroy it. It's just so good, man. It's so good. And I'm not playing the Stone Sweeper because I felt like if I do, I would have to play Bystials. And I don't play Bystials. That's like the only reason you would play the Stone Sweeper. If you play Bystials, because it facilitates the dark. You can get the darks to the graveyard and banish for a Bystial, right? It's just, but I don't know. Maybe in a different variant, but so far I'm really liking how this deck functions. And you have your power spells, or you have your triple prosperity. This card is so essential for the deck, because sometimes this gets stopped, right? And you need to dig for your non-tuner, right? And this helps you dig for bone or helps you dig for crime, and it's just insane. Or even if you did get access to everything, and at the end you go, okay, activate, and you dig for a trap or a floodgate that you feel like, oh, I need to search for a Rivalry, I need to search for a GOZEN, I need to search for a skill drain, because that just makes it insane. Like skill drain and established board is amazing. And of course, I was debating on this card the last minute, and I ended up just chucking it in. It's amazing because there's so many hand traps right now. And when this guy eats a hand trap, you just go tactics, look at their hand, or draw two. You either get engine within your non-tuners, or you dig for your traps, which is amazing, right? It's just so good. Or sometimes you don't even get bothered by it. You have everything. They stop this guy, fine, combo as usual. And then you can read if they have Nibiru or not, right? And then you just go, okay, I'll draw two to get more traps to reinforce your board. It's so good. And just being able to steal going second is amazing, because you can send it off of bone, right? You go summon effect, they negate it somehow, I don't know. And then you go tactics take, you lack or something, and then after you go bone effect, send their guy, and then try to combo. That play is really nice. Of course, Fool's Burial. This is important because you play Floodgates and you get locked under your Floodgates, so you want to be able to have access to bone as often as possible. So this sends bone, and it gives you the combo as well. So then you have your traps. So the way you view this, and I think you should view it this way so it can make sense, is you view these as board breakers, right? Think of it as evenly or storm, or you get to break the board, but not in the way you typically would with evenly matched, right? So I'm missing Needle Sling, as I mentioned earlier in the video, because Needle Sling can be used at any given time. This is a little bit niche. It can or cannot work, but most of the time right now in the current format, it's applicable, right? You can hit a few things with this, or just get rid of or steal things, sync with it, and just depending on game state, you can use this in a way where it can benefit you. But primarily, it's just there to stop an OTK, right? Because you want to make sure that this clears the board, this prevents you from dying, and then these are here in case they don't summon, right? That's mainly the way they're here. Because if they go first, you attempt to combo, right? You try to combo with your resonators and stuff. They'll most likely interact with those guys, like SP, banish, and do all these things, right, to prevent you from summoning. And then you set these, right? Because MP's gone, they can't spot move in your back row. They've committed already. And you set, and then you pass, right? And then on turn 3, that's where you crack the board. And turn 4, that's when you play again, because how consistent the deck is, right? You have Prosperity, Resonator Call, you have one card combo. So that's the way you should view it, so it can make sense. And it can be a bit unsettling because you feel like you're losing control of letting them do their board, but just relax and just, okay, they have their board, okay, this is meant, because like even if you did open up prevention, right, and you went with the hand trap route, which is efficient and it can work, I'm not disregarding that, but I'm saying if you view this in a different manner, meaning what if you don't draw into your hand traps, right, and you don't prevent, top decking those preventions doesn't do anything for you. Whereas this always will, right? Does that make sense? Because you're always going to be able to use them. Whether you go first, you can use them. Whether you go second, you can use them. You just set them and pass, and you crack a board that way, right? Just view it that way. But yeah, I'm missing Needlesling. Needlesling, I think it's very important because it's another blowout card. Whether I swap it for this, I'm not sure. But I feel like if I had to choose, I would put the Needleslings over this, I think. But it's just, this has so much relevancy right now where you can hit like Bell, hit Snake Eye stuff, you know. But I'm not sure. It's been okay. Against Tenpai, it's not that bad either because you can use it during battle phase. You could take their Dragon Engrave, banish their Tenpai on field. But I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. I might just bump it up even more. And of course, yeah, your skill. This card is amazing in the main deck for this deck because it's basically old school Yugioh who has a bigger beater. He's just 3K beater that keeps coming back. And when you pair this with Red Zone, just popping cards, just insane. It's just so good. And then Rivalry and Gozen. These can be hit or miss. It's just a floodgate to crack a board going second, right? Once they have their board, they've established they have different attributes, multiple different types. You just flip this, and it serves similar to how Torrential is meant to serve, where you just crack a board and then you put them under a floodgate, and just to ensure that you live, right? Just to make sure they don't have lethal, and that's why they're here. But it's a hit or miss, but I feel like it's enough to justify it in the main deck. But yeah, the reason why you play Fool's Burial is to ensure that you get access to Bone, because sometimes you do get gated and you don't get access to Bone, so you want as much access to Bone as possible. So because Bone can send these, which is insane, because sometimes you need to turn off your skill drain, you send it off Bone, and then you pop off. And then, of course, you have the RDA traps. You have Red Rain, Red Zone, Golem, and, of course, you have Phoenix Shade. These aren't typically played, but I just love how this works with the deck. Because sometimes you don't get access to your synchro, so you need Gaia to search you something, an interaction. Because like this searching this with no synchro is pretty much dead. So the fact that you can open up, like, say you open up like these two, or any variation of this, right? And Gaia, right? You go Soul, then negate Soul, this searches this. Now you have 4 interactions compared to just 3. And that 4th just puts the nail in the coffin, like you're going to live. Because very minimum, you need to open up at least 3 or 2. 2 or 3. Two gets the job done sometimes, but 3 just ends a turn for sure. And if you have 4, there's no way you're not ending a turn. There's just no way. And because of the way the deck is built and the way it's meant to control the game, you get in a position where you can have the RDA and have this, right? You flip it, negate something, and then you have this for following turn. You set this off of this, which is insane. And you just need 1 copy. Just 1 copy keeps recycling over and over again. Because every single turn, you're going to be able to go Gaia, add this back from grave, because it adds from grave or deck. It's just insane. Add this back, set, go. And the fact that this stays on field sometimes is insane because you can send it off phone, which is really nice. So then you just keep doing it over and over again. And that's just too good. I think it's just way too good. And being able to use this to banish your Red Dragon Archfiend in some matchups, it's pretty relevant sometimes. And banishing a Flameburge is insane too. It's just so good banishing a Flameburge, banishing a Princess, and just being able to hit something like an access code before they can pop your cards is pretty insane. And then you have your side deck, very generic. You have Triple Storm, Duster, you have Dark Ruler, you have Barrier, you have Anti-Spell, Judgment, and of course you have your Evenly Matched. Being able to go evenly matched, set traps is just brutal, man. It's just insane. When you go first, right, put these in. Depending on the match, you put this in. It's very, very generic, very simple. And then of course you have your extra deck. The reason I put this guy in here was for the Tenpai matchup, because sometimes they end on a dragon or the Sengen or the quick play. And I'm trying to go battle phase, and they summon their guy, and it's a bit weird because then they just loot your board somehow. So I don't know, it's a bit odd, but I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll keep it in. But one thing I might have to do is put back the 3rd Red Rising, because it came up a few times. Double Dispatter, Bane, you have Hot Reds, you have your Double Scarred. This actually comes up a lot more often than I thought. Initially, I was on 1, but just being able to like summon a 2nd one is pretty good. And for sure, there's no way you have to play 2 of this. You just have to. It just comes up way too often. They don't expect it for you to have a 2nd one, because like sometimes you float into the discard in the graveyard, and then they're like, oh, then you just crash. If Gaia, some of the 2nd one is like, what the hell? It's so good, so free. Scarlight, Void Ogre. You can make this comfortably with this deck because you don't have any hand traps. You just make this and set your back row to protect them from Lightning Storm or something. Few belts, Red Rising. I might have to add the third one back in. I might just cut this again. But anything else, I don't know. It seemed fine, but this one I might cut. I never ever make it. It's like the Supernova. It's like I never made it. I feel like a third one will just come up way more often because you don't view it the same as, oh, you're resolving Crimson. It's majority of the time, you're just going like Scarred, set 4, pass. That's what you typically do with this deck, right? And you just take the slow game. You don't fall into Nibiru. You have enough interaction there, and why would you risk falling into Nibiru? And which made me question, like, why even need Crimson Resonator? But yeah, you do. There are times where you just need to overwhelm them with a big push, and that's why it's in there. But nonetheless, it was pretty cool. There was a 5 round of Swiss, and then top 8 cut. It's, oh my goodness, dude. My top 8 match was insane, dude. Game 1 lasted for 40 minutes. It was pretty crazy. And then I ended up taking it. He went first, he did his board. And I ended up cracking it, and they went back and forth. We were playing Yugioh, bro. It was Yugioh. It was the best match of the day for sure. But I lost twice. I lost to Ritual Beast in time. I lost to Tenpai because he just cracked my board. Like I was like, what the hell, bro? Game 3, he shifted me, and I'm like, I was fine. My hand was pretty busted. I'm not gonna lie. I had Judgment, D-Barrier, Daruma, Bone, and Vision. I'm like, I got this. And he goes, oh, hang on, Stam, draw phase, shifter. I was like, oh my god, okay, I'll set 3 past. And his hand was Duster, Double Cosmic, and Engine. And the barrier didn't affect him because he just did enough damage. I had Judgment into the Duster, so it put me on 4K, and then he just attack, summon, Synchron, and attack. I was like, oh my god, what the hell? There was some logic into just flipping the D-Barrier, but I felt like I needed to protect that Daruma cannon to ensure that I have a backup in case he stopped my push, right? So let's say he goes into battle, right? And then I have Daruma, and I can keep the D-Barrier, or vice versa, right? I go D-Barrier to prevent a synchro or whatever. And then my turn, I try to play. He stops me. I still have my Daruma or my D-Barrier, and then I stop him again. And on my turn, I'll have GAIA by then because the shifter would have worn out, but it didn't work out. But anyways, the deck was fine. Go ahead and try it. It's gonna be a bit of a bit odd because you're like letting them do whatever they want, but just trust the process. Just set your back row and just pass, bro. That's all you gotta do. All right, guys, that's gonna be it. Hopefully, enjoy the video. Let's subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for watching.